A new mother left her child at the hospital just hours after giving birth, and now police are concerned for the woman's safety. Police say this woman walked out of the hospital just 12 hours after giving birth prematurely to a baby boy. Now, the safe haven law does apply in this case, so the mother is not in trouble. The baby is in protective custody. The mother left the hospital without being discharged, and police say they're concerned for her health.
Anybody that leaves the hospital prior to being medically cleared, obviously there's a concern for. That's why we want to check her welfare and first of all identify her, check her welfare, and continue our investigation.
Anyone with information is asked to call the EMCU at 316-660-9452. A lot of you are talking tonight about why police released a photo of a woman who left her newborn at an area hospital. You say it's shaming the woman who used the safe haven law. We're looking into why police asked the media to show her picture in the first place. KSN's Ashley Arnold joins us live from Via Christi St. Joe with the latest on what she's found. Ashley?
Well, Stephanie, we spoke to officials with police and the hospital to determine just why this woman's information was released. A lot of you have been asking why officers released the woman's picture, concerned that it violated her privacy. Police officials tell me they made the best decision they could given the circumstances. The safe haven law allows women to give birth or drop off their newborn up to 45 days after the child is born. While the law does not allow for parents to remain anonymous, they did not release the woman's picture because she gave up her child, saying the call they made to the public was to benefit the woman's health and welfare.
That's probably one of the things that is difficult for people to understand. When we make decisions, we have to take all the facts into consideration and take that action.
We wanted to know how often police ask the public for its help finding someone for their own welfare and how often the hospital reaches out to police for assistance, but neither had those numbers for us. We also looked into the hospital's reasons as to why they released the information. We'll have that at 6. Live in the newsroom, Ashley Arnold, KSN News.
Thanks, Ashley. As she said, we are asking police and the hospital why they released the picture, but we're also asking ourselves that question. KSN is one of the media outlets that aired the woman's picture yesterday. After we get more answers about the specifics of this case and why police released her picture, we're going to review our policy about releasing photos on air. An update now on a story we've also been following since last week on the release of a photograph of the woman who gave up her newborn child under the safe haven law. Wichita police tell us there were specific circumstances that made them have significant concern for the woman's health and that they felt compelled to release her picture and ask for help finding her. Many concerns were raised about the impact of identifying the woman and the concerns that other women might not use the safe haven law for fear of also being exposed publicly. Now, KSN initially showed the woman's picture along with other media outlets, but after learning this new information from police, we are changing our policies on releasing photos regarding the safe haven laws.
And News at 10 begins now.
After a woman who left her newborn child at a hospital had her identity exposed, lawmakers are considering making changes to Kansas's safe haven laws. Good evening. I'm Darren Dito.
And I'm Stephanie Bergman. Glad you're with us on this Thursday. It's a story we first brought you last month, a dispute whether releasing a mother's photo after she left her baby at the hospital was warranted under the state's safe haven law. The incident has now prompted a Kansas legislator to draft a bill to protect a parent's anonymity. KSN's Chris Arnold joins us now to take a closer look into that situation.
Well, Stephanie, Representative Jan Paul says changes in the language need to be made in how the safe haven law works in the state of Kansas. I spoke with Pauls over the phone earlier this evening, and she told me what sparked her decision to go forward with the bill.
How did you hear about the incident that happened here in Wichita?
Well, I'd gotten some different emails on it and then went to your website and checked it out.
It's after seeing a story we ran on KSN that Representative Jan Pauls felt it was time to make a change to the safe haven laws here in Kansas. She drafted House Bill 2577 in hopes of changing some of the language in the law.
What the change in the law states is it makes it very clear that the person leaving the child there doesn't have to reveal anything that would identify them. And then other change in the law provides that when the child's delivered to a hospital or fire station or whatever, they're not required to reveal the name of the person.
While Paul's stance is to keep the identity of the surrendering parent anonymous, KSN tried to find out what the legal ramifications would be.
It would be hard to have a mother who turns in her child be totally anonymous.
I would think it'd almost be impossible.
Local attorney Charlie O'Hara says there are a couple factors the bill would need to include to make it most effective.
Everybody that has an interest in this child should be notified. And if they all agree to seal the records and not put it out to the general public, that's not a problem.
While Pauls moves forward to get the bill passed into law, she's pleased to see organizations changing their policy to try and protect the identity of those who choose to surrender their child at a safe haven. Even our own policy here at KSN.
I want to say I appreciate the fact that your station voluntarily has changed your policy on this, and such a situation wouldn't happen again.
Paul says that House Bill 2577 will be heard by the Kansas Children and Seniors Committee on Tuesday. If it passes out of that committee, it will then go to the House floor for a vote. Chris Arnold, KSN News.
All right, I know you'll keep us updated. Thanks, Chris. And we wanted to know how common it is to guarantee anonymity in safe haven cases. So we did some research and found that even though all 50 states have safe haven laws in some form, only 13 states so far have an anonymity clause included in their laws.
KSN continues to follow up with tough questions about a story we've been following for a month on the safe haven law. After a woman was outed after leaving her newborn at a Wichita hospital, we started asking the tough questions. Why? Well, now a lawmaker is introducing a bill based on our stories at KSN. KSN's Craig Anderson is live in Topeka, where the bill was introduced today. Craig?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're here in the state capitol, Topeka. House Bill 2577. Get a look. There are some folks that would like to see this come over here to the Senate side. They'd like to see it passed into law here. But before the Senate can get a hold of this thing, they got to get the job done over here on the House of Representatives side. Now, there is one House member that has watched our KSN stories, and she's now taking action. She says changes need to be made. She's working on a bill for that because she said she wants to try to make a new law to give anonymity to parents under the safe haven law.
The police came and were trying to locate her, released a picture.
Jan Pauls of Hutchinson making the case for House Bill 2577. She says make a change. Get a law on the books that guarantees anonymity of parents who use the safe haven law. Through KSN Stories, Paul says she learned about a Wichita woman whose face was plastered all over TV, the web, and newspapers after dropping a baby under the safe haven law.
You don't want a mother to decide not to leave a child. Like I said, we don't want a baby to end up dead in a garbage can.
Those in this House committee on Tuesday listening intently, but it's still in committee. Paul says it's getting broad support and thinks it does have a good chance of passing the House. Some Senate members say House Bill 2577 just makes sense. Anonymity to parents will be closely followed in the Senate.
Without the guarantee of privacy, I think you're going to have people that will not take advantage of this situation.
And Representative Pauls goes on to say House Bill 2577 is something she's passionate about and will push to make it happen in both the House and Senate.
I think it's got a good chance of being passed, and I'll, of course, if it gets through the House okay, and I see no reason it wouldn't, then I'll go testify in the Senate.
So keep in mind, before this thing can make it into the chambers to be voted on, it has to get out of committee first. That's what the committee hearing was all about today. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we continue to ask the tough questions, and we'll track the progress and bring that to you. More details coming up at 6. For now, we're live at the Capitol. Craig Andrus, KSN News.
KSN News at noon begins now.
Protecting the identities of women who give up their babies is one step closer to law, as the Kansas House unanimously approved a bill that would keep women from being outed for surrendering their child. Glad you're with us this afternoon. I'm Mark Davidson. Big news to start the newscast today. Just a few minutes ago, the House passed the bill that would change our safe haven law to keep the identity of women who give up a baby safe and private. The Hutchinson lawmaker who introduced the bill first heard about the story on KSN after a Wichita woman was outed for leaving her newborn at the hospital. KSN ran numerous stories looking into why the hospital gave the information to the police and why the police asked the media to share the photo of a woman who had left the hospital without her child. Democrat Jan Pauls of Hutchinson says after she saw our stories, she introduced House Bill 2577. It passed a House vote just before noon today by a unanimous vote. It now moves to the Senate, but no timetable for a vote is set. The bill would guarantee anonymity to a mother who uses the safe haven law. KSN's Craig Andrus is in Topeka. He'll have complete coverage and reaction coming up later at 5 and 6.
KSN News at 5 begins now.
An important decision before a Senate committee. Should a mother who abandons her baby through the safe haven law be allowed to remain anonymous? KSN has been asking that question for 2 months now after police released the photo of a mother who left her baby at a Wichita hospital. Good evening, everyone. I'm Stephanie Bergman.
And I'm Darren Zito. Thank you for joining us tonight. KSN's coverage prompted a state representative to introduce a new version of the safe haven law. The idea here is that if a mother is worried that her name or photo will be released, she may not abandon her baby at a safe place. Instead, she may abandon the baby in a dangerous place. We've all heard of babies being left in dumpsters. Today, State Representative Jan Pauls took her concerns to the Senate. KSN's Craig Andrus has been following this story from the very beginning. He joins us now live from the State House. Craig?
Well, Representative Jan Pauls of Hutchinson in here inside the House saying thank you to KSN once again. She likes the stories that we've been doing following this. It passed out of the House. Everybody voted for it. Only one person didn't vote for it, and that person was absent that day. So now it goes over here, across the rail, through the dome, over to the other side to the Senate, where a Senate committee was hearing some facts on this today. A lot of senators having some positive things to say, and some say this has a very good chance of passing.
The idea on this whole bill when we passed it was we don't want people to be throwing a baby into a garbage can or a dumpster.
House Democrat Jan Pauls, successful in the House, now on Senate ground, in committee, selling her idea of anonymity for parents dropping off babies under the safe haven law. Senate committee leadership asking questions, will there truly be anonymity for parents dropping off babies?
Doesn't that conflict with the existing legal requirement that notice be provided to family members, which presumably they would have to track down, which presumably would destroy anonymity?
But Representative Pauls, an attorney, countered, saying if a woman or family member drops off a baby anonymously, the child would go into a child in need of care case with the state, and others with parental rights could still fight for custody. Pauls says her change in the safe haven law is going after child safety first, make safe haven anonymous so parents will feel free to actually use safe haven.
There are protections for them. If a parent drops a baby off without consent of the other parent, all that parent has to do is notify the police their child's disappeared and they'll be tracked down for them.
Of course, Representative Pauls out here on the rail, as they call it, just kind of hanging out, looking over the rail, talking to other lawmakers. They do this quite often after things have gone out of committee and they're thinking about voting on it. This thing likely will get off discussion here on the rail as well, the casual discussion, and they might vote on it as early as Monday. For now, we're live in Topeka. Craig Andrus, KSN News.
KSN News at 5 begins now.
New action today to improve our state's safe haven law. It comes almost 2 months to the day since police released the picture of a woman who abandoned her baby at a Wichita hospital. And after a string of KSN reports asking why the woman was outed. Good evening, everyone. I'm Stephanie Bergman.
And I'm Darren Zito. Thank you for joining us tonight. The safe haven law was designed to protect babies, letting a parent abandon a baby in a safe place with no chance of prosecution. So when a mother's picture was made public back in January that is, we started asking why, and our stories prompted a Kansas lawmaker to take action. KSN's Craig Andrus has been covering this story from the beginning. He joins us from the State House with the latest.
Well, House Member Jan Pauls very optimistic, feeling good about House Bill 2577, Safe Haven for Newborns Anonymity. She walked it through on the calendar over to the Senate side after it passed. It sailed through the House 123-0. Well, she walked it up on the Senate calendar, and today in Topeka, well, it sailed through here as well. House Bill 2577 getting good reception in the Senate. Many senators saying positive things about it. When it went up for adoption, 3 people talked about it. All 3 said the same thing. We think it's a good idea. There should be anonymity guaranteed for those dropping off children under safe haven. And House Member Jan Pauls today thanking KSN again for bringing attention to an issue that she says needed to be brought forward.
We had hoped more people knew about it, but they didn't. So we appreciate the fact that this incident has brought all this publicity on this law.
Well, coming up at 6 o'clock tonight, we'll hear more from her and from other lawmakers who say this is a slam dunk. They think this thing will go for final action and will quickly and easily pass tomorrow, calling that a mere formality. In Topeka, Craig Andrus, KSN News.
All right, thank you, Craig. Well, there has been a slight wording change to the bill since it passed the House. So after it clears the Senate, it will eventually have to go back to the House to be passed again before it can go to the governor's desk. Kansas hospitals will no longer be allowed to release the names of parents who have abandoned their infants under the Safe Haven law. Governor Brownback has signed into law a bill that guarantees parents anonymity. The new version of the Safe Haven law stems from our coverage of a mother who was outed after leaving her baby at a Wichita hospital. Hutchinson lawmaker Jan Pauls saw our coverage and pushed for the change.
The real purpose of the law is to keep people that have had a baby under 45 days of age or younger from just throwing the child out into a garbage can or leave the child on the street or something. This way they can turn the child in, the parent can turn the child in, and they're protected from any prosecution for that.
The new version of the Safe Haven law guaranteeing anonymity takes effect on July 1st.
House Bill 2577 is now law. The governor held a ceremonial signing today, making it official. The new law allows parents to remain anonymous if they drop off a newborn baby under the Safe Haven law. KSN's Craig Andrus has our continuing coverage.
Kansas Governor Sam Brownback says he's very thrilled to sign this House Bill number 2577, an amendment that changes the law now, ensuring anonymity to parents who drop off kids under the Safe Haven law.
Thank you guys for doing this.
Kansas Governor Sam Brownback making it official. Lawmaker Jan Pauls of Hutchinson saw KSN stories on a Safe Haven baby being dropped off in Wichita. And she says she saw the woman's picture on TV because police and hospital authorities at the time wanted to track that woman down for health reasons. But Pauls pushed for the changes, saying it could save lives.
A mother might feel really pushed and try to keep it confidential and not know what to do except just abandon the child. And this will prevent, of course, saving the life of the child, but it also will prevent ruining the life of a parent.
The governor agrees.
It's things like this that make sense that you really ought to do, and when people look at it, they're going, wow, we could really save some lives.
During the ceremony, Representative Pauls wanted to thank KSN.
They got strongly on board and have really helped publicize this law. And I truly believe it will save a lot of babies in the future. It is an unusual bill. I think it's kind of almost like a blessed bill in the sense that it moved on wings through the system.
Safe Haven now guarantees anonymity to parents under the Safe Haven law. Lawmakers hope it will encourage parents to drop off babies, potentially saving lives. In Topeka, Craig Andrus, KSN News.
Both the governor and House member Jan Pauls again said a word of thanks to KSN today for our continuing coverage of the story, bringing it to the public's attention that the law had a loophole. Both now say that loophole is closed.